Hello and welcome to a panel discussion co-hosted by the Telegraph and Greener Journeys. Now, Greener Journeys has commissioned a report, Buses and Economic Growth, that's due to be published in September. So today I'm joined by Tim O'Toole, Chief Executive of FirstGroup, Gillian Merron, Chair of Bus Users UK, and Adam Marshall, Director of Policy Affairs at the British Chambers of Commerce. Tim, perhaps I could turn to you first and ask, what role do you see the bus playing in not just the economy, but for us as workers?
Well, Robert, buses have a central role to the whole economy, but it's interesting, it's a largely unacknowledged one. I mean, this government and the last government were very clear on the importance of transport as a key enabler to move the economy forward. But people don't recognize that 2/3 of everyone who uses public transport get on a bus. People don't realize that the buses are the backbone of how people get to work, how people get to shopping, how people are able to access jobs. And it's critical that buses be supported like other modes of transport.
But Gillian Merron, perhaps I could bring you in here. In a former reincarnation, you were in fact a transport minister. And wouldn't it be fair to say that governments of both persuasions are to blame because they have indulged in decades of underinvestment?
Well, if we're talking about getting people back to work, the bus is a major player in that. I mean, what we do know is that in places like Manchester, in Liverpool, in Birmingham, you know, a quarter of people who are going to work are using the bus. It's a massive number, and it would be a very unwise government that doesn't invest in that, in my opinion. I think the other thing we have to look at is where people are out of work. You know, something like 2/5 of those who are seeking work absolutely reliant on the bus. They don't have a choice of a car. So, you know, again, if a government wants to put its money where its mouth is, it really would do very well to put it into buses.
Well, the British Chambers of Commerce have come up with some pretty staggering figures in the past about the cost of congestion. And isn't this one of the points that people who do, as some reports point out, that people are making longer and longer journeys because they can't afford to live in town, but the congestion is just so bad, they're late for work.
I think a lot of employers would agree with that. They tell us over and over again that journey time unpredictability is a really big factor for them. I don't know if any of you have seen the diagram. I think it was taken, a picture taken in the city of Munster in Germany years ago, where all of the population that could fit in one bus is then put as single car drivers into cars and then arrayed across the city streets. You realise how little road space a bus takes up as opposed to people driving to work on their own. So what a lot of employers say to us when they're on industrial parks, business parks, or in city centres is, I need to get my people to work, I need to know they're going to get there on time, and I need to have that reliability. So Chambers of Commerce up and down the country have always seen the bus as part of the answer.
Briefly from all three of you then, what can the government of today do? For you, Tim, first.
I think the most important thing is the government should support the people who need the bus. That's concessionaires, that's the local authorities who want to put out tendered services, because it's those people who need this service most desperately, and it's those people who in many ways are the most efficient consumers that will help drive the economy. We have to get them to work, we have to get them to their shopping, and it's the bus that they rely on. If you force them into a car, it's a regressive move. It's critical that those people be supported.
But fares surely play a part in this. They're going up all the time. The amount of time you can get a cheap fare, they're being cut, so people are being forced to pay more. Shouldn't there be a subsidy?
Well, fares do matter, but so does the concessionary fare scheme. And it's extremely important that this government doesn't cut it by another means, which is simply by the withdrawal of bus services. I mean, there are many people who've got a bus pass, however, say, what is the point of it? Because I haven't got the bus to use it on. So one of the troubles that we've got, I think, in terms of government funding is a cocktail of cuts going on, and by many means people are finding that their pass is being undermined in terms of its value. But the important thing that people really want is reliability. They want to know the bus is going to turn up, that it's going to be clean, it's going to be safe, it's going to do the route they want. And we're talking about work, get them to work and get them home again, rather important.
What role can business play?
Well, I think you won't find an employer anywhere in the country who would say less investment in transport is a good thing. We're always campaigning for investment in every single mode of transport. When you're facing an infrastructure deficit of 300 to 500 billion pounds, and when you're facing some of these conditions of unreliability that Gillian and Tim were talking about, you know, it is a serious problem. Employers want to see strong bus services. I think they do get concerned that the bus is sometimes the unloved or underloved mode of transport, not just over at the Department for Transport, but sometimes around local authorities as well. And we need to see that perspective changed. And I think we can do. I think we can do. You see innovations in the industry that help to change people's perspective of the buses. We're not just talking about members of the workforce on sort of the lower salary bands. You're talking about people much, much higher up the salary spectrum who are starting to use the bus because it gives them an alternative and it lets them be productive on their way to work. There are these advantages, and I think we have to sell them much better, both across the industry and across our cities and towns.